Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Maja Trochimczyk. I'm one of the village poets of Sunland Tahanga, and I welcome you to our monthly poetry reading. This month, March 2022, we celebrate Women's Month, and we have a great featured poet from way out in Michigan in the snow and cold. Welcome to sunny California, beautiful gardens full of orange blossoms. Hey Habra is our guest. So before we go to our guest, we have to have some information about what the reading is like. Welcome to the feature, right? Nice applause. Very nice. Our group of Sunland Tahanga Poet Laureates formed Village Poets Group to organize these readings, and they're held in person mostly at Bolton Hall Museum, which is a historical landmark in Los Angeles, sometimes in MacArthur Art Center, both local cultural organizations. As due to the pandemic, we moved to the Zoom format, and we slowly will work our way back to the facility, but some events will still be held on Zoom, because it's nice to have poets from far away who don't have to fly in and be with us physically, but we'll share the poetry online. So that's the real joy of having the Zoom readings. In our readings, we've been doing it for 10 years, even published a 10-year anniversary anthology. We share the wisdom and discoveries and insights from our lives, from what we read, and we'll welcome people with wisdom and insights and gift for the words. I think our featured for today, Hey Habra, has shown all these features in abundance. So before we welcome Hedy, I will read a little bit about her biography. I would like to ask two people to raise your hand if it's physically on the screen, or by raising your hand using the Zoom function, to be the open mic readers to start the reading. Who wants to read first? Okay, Charles Harmon. Let's unmute Charles. Here you are, Charles, from Pasadena, right? No, you're not. You're still muted, Charles. Oh, there you are.
Okay. Excuse me. I go to Pasadena for Spectrum, and maybe that's where I met you. And I met you at the Altadena Poets, and I've read some of Hedy's poetry in Spectrum, and well, I actually have a couple of friends who are from Lebanon, so I'm kind of curious to hear the live reading. And I didn't mean to be the first one here. I guess I needed some exercise, so I lifted my hands. I think the kids were lifting forks or something.
You got it.
Well, anyway, yeah, I have good memories of being at Bolton Hall a couple times for live readings. Well, this is called Guilin. It's a very beautiful place in China, and if you see pictures of it, you probably recognize it. It looks very ancient and mysterious. And it is very beautiful.
I've been there.
Who?
Me.
Oh, good. Oh, good. It's a great place to visit.
Beautiful.
Guilin, the Lijiang, so flat and motionless, pools of stillness surrounded by regions of ripples. The agitation of evening breezes mixing with deeper currents. Karst hills of limestone rise rank after rank. A natural Chin's terracotta army from Xi'an, carved from the ancient terrain by wind and water. Chinese watercolor painting, Zhenghua, Shanshui, Huahuar, come to real life. The river burdened with its cargo of moon and stars, everything earthly darkening beneath heaven's golden dusk. The cloudy river in the sky begins to flow from east to west, choked with unknown worlds and the unknowable. Cormorant fishermen make their nightly preparations, fixing bronze rings around the necks of their birds, each loose enough to let the hunters breathe, swim, dive, fish, tight enough to prevent the cormorant swallowing its catch. Each bird is attached by the ring to a leash to be pulled back into the boat with each prize, relieved of his burden, rewarded only now and then with some choice morsel. One good bird can feed an entire family. Several create surplus, nature at the service of mankind. The ring is only a link in a chain. Sun, plants, fish, bird, man, children, wife, life, death. Fire in a basket suspended from the prow by a pole. Light in the night, whether sun or moon, fish rise from the depths to feed and be fed upon. The birds dive again and again, only to have it taken away again and again. The same old story. Can the man even feel the ring around his own neck? Can he see all the links of his chain? Can he feel the line being reeled in? Does he know who pulls the strings? Does he even care who is predator or prey, so long as he gets his own juicy piece of fish every night? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, let's see. Oh, I have to unmute myself, I think. No, I'm good. All right, so now let's move to Larson. There was a hand raise here, Pat. Okay, I think. So there's going to be the second one for reading, and then we'll move to the feature.
Okay, thank you, Maya. I too remember the good old days at Holton Hall, vaguely in my memory. I thought because of the absolutely gorgeous weather we're having here, I'd stick with things about my garden, my backyard. The first one is Ravenous. This is a dedication poem to our backyard squirrel. How long have you been the king of our garden? Time is slippery for me now. Just a few anchor points. 2002, my sister's death. 2006, goodbye to work. 2020, the year of the plague. But you seem a constant in our lives. Our failed efforts to drive you off, bamboo spears and shiny objects, probably a source of amusement, as you sometimes are to us. Just 2 days ago, you and 5 friends in a wild chase up and down, around and around the persimmon. I worry one was female and soon you'll have a brood to care for. I wish you were a patient beast, which you are not. Then perhaps the figs could grow and ripen, the pomegranates swell and fill with sweet ruby seeds. I wonder who will outlive who, knowing it won't matter. That's Ravenous, and this is a little dedication to spring. Here in the land of seasons of sameness, only slight subtle shifts in comfort, I wonder if the flowers can sense the coming of spring. The camellias are winter bloom, backstroke in the red clay dish, keeping their color for more than a week. The gifted Easter lilies, banished outdoors for their funereal smell, soldier on, ignoring neglect like a bothersome child. Around the corner, in soft shades, ineffable, iris faces shine. Our guests on St. Patrick's Day brought white freesias, perfect in a blue-green vase set on a clover tablecloth. Here at Easter, they smile still. Chant life is too beautiful now to let go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's a beautiful honor of spring and life running around in the garden. I don't have squirrels for some reason, maybe because of cats or coyote, because coyote are very frequent visitors here, and the dogs chase coyote. So it seems to be squirrel less in my garden, but I have plenty of birds to enjoy. All right, so thank you very much for the open mic readers. And now I will proceed and introduce our great guest. Hey Habra is a poet, artist, and essayist. She has taught Spanish, at Western Michigan University and is currently studying Mandarin. She has authored 3 poetry collections, more recently, The Taste of the Earth. She's a winner of the Silver Nautilus Book Award, honorable mention to the Eric Hoffer Book Award, and finalist for the Best Book Award. Tea in Heliopolis won the Best Book Award, and her ekphrastic collection, Under Brushstrokes, was finalist for the Best Book Award and the International Book Award. Her story collection, Flying Carpets, won the Arab American Book Awards honorable mention and was finalist for the Eric Hoffer Award. Her book of criticism examines the visual aspects of the Peruvian Nobel Prize winner narrative. A 17-time nominee for the Pushcart Prize. I think it's the largest number that we've ever had. And for Best of the Net, and the recipient of the Nazim Hikmet Award. Her multilingual work appears in numerous journals and anthologies. She has just completed another poetry manuscript, which was inspired by women artists. And she also paints artwork for the book covers, and she was frequently published in our own California Quarterly here, published by California State Poetry Society, of which I'm honored to be the president. So please welcome our wonderful poet artist guest, Hey Habra. Let's listen to her voice.
Thank you for this wonderful present introduction, Macha. Thank you all for being here. And special thanks to my daughter and grandchildren and part of my family to support me today. I thought I would read first from The Taste of the Earth and end with some more recent poems from my new manuscript. The Taste of the Earth was 12 years in the making. It is a memoir in verse. It's about recollections, roots, going back to origins. And I painted the cover and chose to paint the Eye of Horus because I'm from Egypt and Lebanon. And there's a very large section in the book titled Meditations over the Eye of Horus. The falcon god Horus was extremely important for the afterlife for ancient Egyptians. And the Eye of Horus was a very powerful amulet for the afterlife. So each part of the eye represented or symbolized one of the senses. So in the section titled Meditations over the Eye of Horus, I have several sections of haibums dedicated to each of the senses. I'll just, there are 5 sections in the book, 5 parts. I'll read a little bit of each. Some are focused on Lebanon, some on Egypt, some about going back to Lebanon after 25 years. The first poem opening the collection is Topography. Sometimes I think my face is a map, each line a faint record of hidden scars, of what I've seen or felt. My skin retains traces of every fleeting breeze, of drifting snowflakes, remembers the warmth of Monday's sun, the salty trickle of sorrow mixed with raindrops, and even the slightest shiver, the music of light melting down my cheeks. An imprint, can you hear me? Okay. An imprint remains of the faces whose gaze lingered over my face with fingers on the tip of their words, or outlined my features with fingers weighed down with words. I often see that other face beneath the one looking at me in the mirror, swelling with recollections, unraveling all my senses. The next poem is titled, I Always Knew I Was a Sibyl at Heart. I have paid my dues and fought mood swings before entering that stage of well-earned wisdom, preventing me from climbing over walls in midday, pacing interminable labyrinthine pathways, or drowning in the deep wells of insomnia. I've collected enough books to keep me company till the day I die, stacked in double and triple rows in an arbitrary order they refute in unison. Each volume stares at me with eyes shut, scrutinizes my movements, tries to lure me into caressing its spine, opening it like an I Ching. Shouldn't I, on account of my years, be granted the sight, recognize the rhythm of unspoken speech in the folds of each palm, read the veins of each leaf blown by the wind? I could be scrying in the moonlight, eyes wide open like a wise owl, sensing the slightest reflection on still water. Thank you. Then there are a couple of long poems titled Meditations. The first one is Meditations over Phoenician letters. And it is an Abecedarian, and the Phoenician letters are printed on the page. So I was fascinated by the Phoenician letters, and we've always known that the Western alphabet comes from there. But when I really studied them, I saw that before there is a closer connection to Arabic through Aramean. And I noticed that many of these letters sounded exactly like the corresponding letter in Arabic, and also many words. So I'll just read a few samples. Aleph, for ox marking furrows in parallel lines, erect, like that first letter initiating the article. Al, for Aleph, the one and only of its kind, encompassing all meanings. Beth, Beit for house, as bosom, womb, al-Beit, where families gather around the homemade meal cooked over hearth, often bearing a burning dot under the cast iron tray. Gimel for camel, ships of the desert, al-Gamal, where families gather around waves, al-Gamal battling dunes as waves, head bent, back curved under chests filled with gold and spices, eyelids heavy with the secrets of Tombouctou. Dalet, for door, half open dal, hospitality leading to Aldar, a heart with open valves to transfuse friendship, erase boundaries, a steaming stew's sense welcoming you in. And one more, Yod for Yed, a hand for lovers, hand in hand, for building, cooking, painting, handshaken in a peace agreement, asking for a daughter's hand, granting her hand. Would a girl's hand always belong to a man? And this meditation over Phoenician letter opens up the whole section of poems about Lebanon. I'll read only one titled, After 25 Years. We left Lebanon at the onset of the civil war that lasted 15 years, and then lived in Europe and came here 40 years ago. And this is a poem about going back. After 25 years, I came to Beirut to retrace my steps, but its warmth enveloped me in its ample mantle through streets I didn't recognize. Mushrooming bridges and roads led me to an array of Phoenician wrought iron letters rising over the Corniche railings like triremes masts. I caught glimpses of an old house's blue mandolin windows, its arcades vivid in my dreams, with its twin sister's face disfigured by open wounds. Here and there, a jogger runs around the promenade, Steeped in lost footsteps, the water seems darker, as though hiding painful memories. Only the vendor of crisp sesame breads makes me feel at home. With a smile, he fills my kak with fragrant za'atar. We won't linger in a cafe to sense the sea's mist suffused with bitterness, hear the stories of the wind. Instead, we go to the new Fridays. I wish I paced the streets to gather some crumbs of what I miss the most. The traces of a city hiding within a city hidden under my eyelids. This is not what the heart remembers. I say to myself, this is not what the heart remembers, until the jacaranda's blue light anchors me back, whispering, yes, here, deep inside, fluttering like a dove's wing. Thank you. And next comes the meditations over the Eye of Horus. And again, I used the script, Arabic script, and the printed symbols. And I have written for each sense several haibons followed by a litany. I only read one excerpt about thought. So it's a prose poem followed by a haiku. My mother's perfectly traced eyebrows punctuated her mute directives in a secret language that controlled our pulse. When she'd say, "Qalbi kash zay al-zibiba," you have shrunk my heart into a raisin, we feared the next step, that of erasure, with the sempiternal, "Dawabti qalbi," you have melted my heart as sugar dissolves in water. Ancient Egyptians believed the heart to be the seat of consciousness and wisdom. At the final judgment, it was weighed against Maat's feather to allow the deceased to cross the pathway to the field of reeds. Is this wherefrom we get our sense of love in connection with the heart? Does a thought espouse the rhythm of a heartbeat? When we forgive, don't we feel our heart lighter, freed from the ballast of bitterness and resentment? The wind sweeps the grass all over the Nile Valley. Flowers bend their necks. I have two more poems from this book, and one of them is about freedom. And I thought it was an important poem to read now, that we see the struggle for freedom in Ukraine. This poem was written about the Arab Springs in 2011 or so. So the title is, I'd like to write a song of freedom. The daily news defies me, as does the almanac, when early signs of spring sprout in Egypt and Lebanon. Budding with innocence, walls rise, crushing voices with indifference. I'd like to write a song of freedom, a song of songs, merging the dialects of my youth into one heart, and share the lush ruby red arils of Phoenician apples. Syllables fall off the table, lie formless all over the floor, powerless, unable to unite. How could they concoct an elixir of hope when time and again, in the land of milk and honey, fear settles its motto in streets steeped in carmine ink, where shades wander, forever haunting the site of their bloodshed? Unable to decipher the elusive pattern of unuttered words cluttered between my temples, a heavy armor pressed against my chest, I only feel the lift and pause of the waves surrounding silence. Will I ever learn the language of invisible scars tattooed all over my skin? And the last poem is, there are numerous poems throughout the book, all from the point of view of inanimate objects, like an olive tree, a broken jug, and this one is in the voice of the abandoned fountain. I wasn't always covered with dust and fallen leaves. Water's cooling ferns once ran over my marbled veins, opening up and closing like fans. I knew the language of each ripple, and secrets rippled through my heart. Sighs of joy or pain filled my dreams until the day I woke up in the midst of rubbles. In the deserted courtyard, children came to wash their naked souls, bleeding from cracks like hardened cement. But I was too dry to soothe their wounds. No one cleans my mosaic tiles any longer. No one rubs my copper faucets. No one sits on the smooth edges that were my pride. At dusk, shadows without a head chase limbs searching for blind shadows. I hear voices fractured like shattered mirrors, each searching for an ear, unable to find a match. Lost cries soar in dissonance, rise in volutes of pain, circle around broken bricks and stones, disappear through holes and crevices. I know a river of voices runs down the streets, surrounded with indifference, endlessly swelling, sending ashen messages to the wind. Thank you. I was going to ask for share screening because the next poems I'm going to read are from my new ekphrastic collection, and the poems are all inspired by artworks by women, and most of the themes, and now it's Women's Month, are focusing on the feminine. So if I am enabled to share screen, I will proceed.
You can share screen now, so just try to see how it works. I give you the right to host the screen.
I think it's working. I will just put the focus. And the first painting is by one of my favorite artists, Remedios Varo. It's titled Disturbing Presence. And the poem is the title poem for the new collection. And the title is, Or Did You Ever See the Other Side of Things? Seated at her table, her fingertips run over the knots where branches once grew. Feel the crevices of the aged oak's grain, its porous surface about to peel open like the pages of a book. She watches wavy lines swirl and Burl's eyes sprout in thread-like tendrils. Does a tree feel pain in its phantom limbs? Could the table remember the carpenter's hands that carved it with love? The many times it was stained and rubbed with oils? Would these hands erase the memory of trees pregnant with bird trills? And what of the movement of her pen, her unanswered questions, the songs she sang to herself? A heavy breath in the nape of her neck rarefies the air. The chair's damask fabric, woven with fleur-de-lis, disintegrates, scattering petals wet with tears. Her open scars exposed, she feels the pull of a body against hers, her hunger unveiled as the moment recedes. The next painting is Woman Leaving the Psychoanalyst, also by Remedios Varo. And the poem that I wrote is a prose poem, it's a persona poem. Or could I finally be allowed to leave my analyst? I'm leaving his office with my hair standing on end. No iPhone at hand, or else that would have made a great selfie. I walk out with a steady stride, tired of these useless sessions. After all, am I not reconciled with my dark side? No more makeup to hide the once widening circles around my eyes. I'll let the gray show on my temples, allow my electric hair to rise and curl at will, catching sunlight and moonbeams in its spires. I don't need him anymore, but he doesn't seem to know it. There's still work to be done, he says, wants me back over and over again. I have no more stories to tell, no more foggy areas to recover, forge, and weld. Has he become addicted to my voice? Or does he see his own shadow reflected in my dreams? See, this is the story of my life. Analyzing instead of being analyzed, entertaining instead of being entertained. And the third one is by also another artist I adore, Juanita Guccione. And this painting is titled We Had Many Faces. Juanita Guccione is the mother of a very famous and wonderful poet friend, Jellul Marbrouk, who has curated her paintings. She's very famous. Her paintings are in many museums. So this painting inspired another prose poem. Or weren't we always told to remove our makeup at night? On certain evenings, when the sun turns ebony, my heart becomes an obsidian pendant hanging between my breasts, conjuring old lovers' touch, my newborn's avid lips. I can freely perform, peeling off face after face the masks that haunted me all my life, each dangling from a strand of my graying hair, caught within a self-woven web of conflicting feelings brimming with sap and dew. I become a puppeteer, pulling threads of time, braiding throbbing heartbeats with the stillness of empty silences. That's when I realized how much care was taken in recreating myself as though with stage makeup. Or else, how could I have coped with the different roles allotted to me at every crossroad, each gilded with a false sense of free will? The next visual that inspired the next poem is an installation, Keys, by Shiharu Shiota, a Japanese contemporary artist. And she's got like 50,000 keys hanging in this installation. And it inspired me to write a poem, a list poem titled, Or How Do You Keep Track of All the Keys You Once Owned? Keys to unlock one's buried memories. Keys to the family cottage you had to sell. Keys that once opened different sized locks. Keys that had to be changed after an infraction. Keys that yearn for the doors they used to open. Keys thrown into a deep well, still oozing blood. Keys to the palaces King Farouk owned in Egypt. Keys to learning how to deal with oneself and others. Keys to the meaning of feelings that you kept losing. Keys to the safes holding papers that ruled your lives. Keys kept in a jewelry box that must have mattered once. Keys lost, forgotten, or treasured as possible comeback. Keys to the wrought iron patio gate half covered with jasmine. Keys that opened the car door that led you straight to the beach. Keys to dreams, horned and ivory gates that keep getting mixed up. Keys meant to reach the heart of a man before he'd changed the locks. Keys you hold in your palm and run your fingers over and over again. Keys to an old friend's house who once relied upon you to water her plants. Keys passed on from generation to generation to reclaim the ancestral home. Keys that you had to return to the hotel where you wished you'd spent a lifetime. Keys to all the cars you've ever owned and led you through long forgotten crossroads. Keys to the office you left, carrying a cardboard box filled with what seemed important. Keys to the wooden carved secretary your mother handed down to you that held no secret to her. Keys to the homes you kept leaving from country to country, from one neighborhood to the next. I still have 2 poems, but I don't know how I'm doing with time. Okay, so I'm back to my obsession with Remedios Varo. And this painting is titled The Farewell. And the poem is, or did you really think it was the path of no return? When we started walking along the winding road of separation, did you ever wonder if our shadows weren't reluctant to follow? What if they'd reclaim a life of their own, decide to concoct a different ending to our story, loosen their chains one by one? What if they might have stretched and stretched, retracing our footsteps towards the place where words were last spoken or omitted? And what if then, without restraint, without shame, pride aside, they would have wrapped themselves around each other in swirls tighter than the twists of a rope, become braided wicks awaiting to be lit, linger back there with no witness, save perhaps an alley cat, a stray dog, or a lost sparrow? The last painting and poem, this was inspired by a contemporary African-American artist. Her name is Cara Walker, and she works a lot with paper cuts. And this is a persona poem, a prose poem, and I have taken a different approach to the interpretation of this poem, because initially the salvation, this is based on a real slave who found her salvation in death. And my own interpretation is different. And so the title is, or how with each dream she'd feel closer to the receding shoreline. When first thing in the morning I look into the mirror, it's as though my nightmare were a mirror in which I'm about to drown. I see myself hanging onto a huge trunk, submerged in the marsh. I keep trying night after night to cross the threshold, separating me from the other shore, the one my mother's great-grandmother left, bound in chains, and like so many others, kept staring aimlessly in the direction of her birthplace. Every night, I'm bound by my mother's recurrent dream that must have been inbred or hereditary, passed on by word of mouth, or was it an imprint into the cell's memory that sent her visions of being chased by winding lianas lassoing the surface of the swamp, water rising in crested waves, spitting up fish into the nearby cattails, trees bending ever lower to catch her with their low tangled branches, their eyes glowing in the dark. She knew there would be at least one path leading her to safety, like those who had succeeded before her, although with each dream, she'd feel closer to the receding shoreline. She'd hopelessly remain trapped in the wetlands, though at times she'd wake up from the murky waters where she was left for dead, holding on to a broken trunk, singing her way out like a diva.
Thank you very much for a fascinating presentation of ekphrastic poems inspired by women's painting. Big round of applause. Thank you.
I don't mean to interrupt. I just want my applause heard. Okay,
Very good.
I'll go away.
Right. So
Thank you,
I
thank
think we could unmute people for now. If anybody would like to comment or thank our featured poet, it's a good time for it. I'm going to unmute or send requests to unmute to everybody so you can speak.
I have a question.
Yeah, Hedy,
Go
this
for it.
is beautiful. It's nice to see you in person, actually, on Zoom, even instead of only Facebook.
Hi, Ambika.
Hi,
Present.
how are you? Thank you. Thank you so much. I know everybody's eager to talk, so I'll reverse gear.
Alice.
Oh, I just wondered if you know, Hedy, if you know Elisar Press.
Ooh, there's two things going on at Maya's house.
Really?
Oh,
That's not me. I think
No?
it comes from everybody's.
this is Alice Perro here, and I met with Maya.
Yeah, right.
But I wanted to know if Hedy knows, do you know Kate, the woman who runs Elisar Press? Do you know Elisar Press? Because it's she's from Lebanon. That's why I thought maybe you knew her.
No, no, I'm really interested. I would like-
Katja Haig, I don't pronounce her name, Haig. She published one of my books recently.
That's, yeah.
And she's wonderful, and she publishes things from Lebanese people. You might want to go to elisarpress.com. It's
Well,
E-L-E.
We'll type it in the notes.
Oh, I can type it.
Yes, we'll do it later when people speak.
okay, that would be
Okay,
great.
so we'll have it in the chat. Very good.
Thank you, Hedy. I remember you from Expressions LA reading. You were an open reader at the time, and when I saw that our group had scheduled you as a featured reader, I was excited about this afternoon. Thank you.
You mean in Los Angeles for AWP?
Do you know James Everett Jones? You attend his readings, James Everett Jones.
Yes. I thought at the AWP because I read Ekphrastic poems then.
I put my comments in the chat. When you are finished and you have time, I hope you'll take a chance to read them. You were inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's wonderful.
You want to read next?
You mean to read?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you. Anybody else have a comment? Oh, Dorothy, I ask, oh, you are unmuted, Dorothy.
Hedy, I was mesmerized by the Psychoanalyst and your poem that you read out of the photo. And the reason for that is I have a dear friend from when I was a child who has been going to the same psychoanalyst for, well, it's got to be 50 some odd years now. Actually more than that, because she's only maybe 6 years younger than I am. And she's still dealing with the same nemesis. And it was just all of a sudden I saw that photo and listened to your poems. I'm going, oh my God, how true is this? I'm not saying it's blanketly true for everyone, but it just hit me like a stone on the head. Anyway, it was beautifully done.
Thank you.
I just want to share that I'm always very surprised by the amount of relationships to different things that poets come around to express. And you fit the bill there, because it's very interesting how many things you thought about on that last, with the shadows entangle. I think that's a great gift.
Thank you.
I'm kind of over specialized myself in my poetry into like 2 areas, and I'm really surprised at the amount of insights poets come up with into pictures and stuff like that.
Yes, indeed, I agree with that. I really like the key poem because I written a key poem not about so many different keys, but keys have a very profound meaning in psyche, but also the real objects that carry history, a personal history. So I'll read my key poem later as a comment on yours, which will be nice. But right now, anybody else would like to have a comment or make a comment?
I love the key poem. I would love a copy of that one. It was really thrilling.
Yeah.
Hedy, we all want a copy of your key poem.
Yes, exactly. But it's coming out in a book, so we can wait for the book and wait when it comes out and then get
No,
the key poem and everything else.
It's already been published, so I can mail it to you, Macha, and you can share it.
And
Yeah, we could, yeah, if you want, you could post it, add it to the post on our blog, so people can read it there, where you have your portrait and information about you. It would be nice to have it. I think it's a really lovely
Thank you.
poem, very insightful.
it will always be a keynote poem.
Exactly. 50,000 keys. Wow. Anyway, so now, no, not now.
No.
No.
You're
We'll
gonna
do
do
that
it.
in. Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah. So right now, I would like to present Alice Perrault, whose induction ceremony, official
Yes.
passing of the laurels, will be on April 9th. But Alice here with me. She's already been poet laureate for 2 years, and she has wonderful poems to share. So let's hear from Alice.
Well, I raced here because I was on my way back from Desert Hot Springs. My husband and I go there occasionally. And there was a tremendous amount of traffic. I would think people wouldn't be driving because of the gas prices, but the opposite. They're driving like mad. Cut the rose and it grows.
Because it'll go up even more, so just do all the driving.
Yeah, it's like they're frantic to get somewhere. So we were stuck in a lot, but that's why I was so late. Anyway, so I'm going to read my Wait poem, W-A-I-T, Wait. Wait is knowing condensed, a question with no answer, dreams in a box, a door stuck shut. You're in the waiting room and the magazines have all been read. Wait is always in the past tense. You are never now. You lost the last appointment and no one is holding your hand, sold your soul in wait, searching for something you could not see that yet demanded all your attention. You fell to the floor in wait, going down to the next level, not yet in the mysterious basement, expecting the worst, but not able to feel the explosion. In wait, you want to dance, but your feet are tied. A million poems swim in waters just outside your reach. In wait, the rain starts to fall, but never reaches the ground. What you wish for lies in a small pool in your belly. Even boredom has more movement than wait. While waiting, your lover was stuck in traffic. Cell phone was off and batteries run down. In wait, the beginning might be the end, but you don't know. Last week, last year, yesterday, all bundled into a wish trying to be fulfilled, if only the door would open. So that's kind of a downer. So I'm going to read a short poem from my book, Thought Stars. It's not so down. And this is The Apples. I lean over on you and the wind shudders. Trees stand at attention. Branches startled awake, sway, dropping apples like small bombs. The children rake away and eat delicious fruit. They wonder at the fertility of trees.
Thank you, Alice. Okay, who would like to read next? Raise your hand on the screen or personally, so I can see. Oh, okay, Ed Rosenthal. Okay, I'm going to unmute you, ask you to unmute. You have very interesting visual effects in your feed today. You
I
kind of,
destroyed the screen.
yeah, it's negative and it's positive. Okay, let's listen to a poet.
Unfortunately, I have it on a document. So can you still see me?
Yes, we can see you. You just don't see us. That's no problem at all. And you'll be recorded. But you know, you don't share the screen. You just look at your text. And that's what I'm gonna do later also, because I'll have my poem on the screen. So I'll just go to different screen. Go ahead.
Okay, now this is a poem for a large business group that I'm going to deliver downtown. And I tried to match up the famous John Benjamin poem, A Shropshire Lad, which is written like in the 1950s, and to mimic that form and use that form in a very different thing for this business group that I always used to do poetry at these large meetings, and now they're having the first one again. And I hope I don't screw this up. I mean, we'll see. I'm kind of using you as an experiment. The doors were shut at Dean Witter. The city had headed for the hills. The alleys filled with predators, and the coffers couldn't foot the bills. When Double Barrel Mike, the Loyal man, Finance Mike from Loyal, arrived in town with the marketplace to study the embroilment. Arguing along, thinking along, starting at USC school and paying a call at Giannini's hall for inking the committee rules. Nighttime chilled abandoned offices where jobs once lasted 40 years, and the council of the government was pierced by policy fears. When they saw the doppelganger of Loyal Mike floating on the street, gliding past blocked doorways, prospecting with a see-through sheet. Prospecting along to the urban marketplace meet. Invisible still, Mike left fulfilled, then faded down Spring Street. The counters were closed at the lenders. Only UCB Bank stood still till Banner and the Schoolhouse Gang showed what a double barrel is. Then we saw the stand of Sheriff Banner in the neighborhood. He fought for a developer whose balance sheet was no good. Gilmore no good, Gilmore no good, the lenders sang in a band. But bop-a-da-bop, bop-bop-bop, into the citywide plan. Then there wasn't an owner on Hope Street whose pockets didn't expand, and over the valley in Burbank and round by Beverly Glen, when Banner Mike, the Loyal man, Captain Mike from Loyal, came around with the committee and the double bottom line plan. Busy and gone, busy but gone to some needy destination. opening up the Loyal Bank at some urban recreation. Okay, then I can close this. So that was it.
All right, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, very good. So let me go back to gallery view and see who would like to read next. Joe DeCenzo. Let's unmute Joe.
Where'd he go?
And here's Joe.
There
he
we
is.
go. Thanks, everybody, very much. Again, Hedy, thank you. I remembered you from Everett Jones's reading, and I was glad to see you here. I have a client who lives on the border of Silver Lake Reservoir here in Los Angeles. And I just noticed that at different times of day, from when I first arrive until the late afternoon when I leave the job, there's quite a bit of life on Silver Lake Reservoir. This is titled Herring Gull. Like the herring gull floating on the surface of Silver Lake, dawning dreams absorb life that wiggles below the surface that reflects light on their pale faces once the morning mist dissipates. The mist that hides their bodies from prying eyes that can construe the preening of feathers or fostering of dreams. Sunlight skates on the rippling surface of Silver Lake. When southern winds disturb the level plain of morning, there is rhythm in the water's undulation when dreams soak up the light. There is tempo in the flapping wings of gulls competing for their morsels. Throughout the day, their spanning wings, their span of life. From the break of morning till the vesper swallows sing their evening prayers at dusk. And thank you. A classmate of mine lost his father this past week. And since I've known him so long, I knew the time that he was living without his father. This is a bit of a story of redemption. The father coming back into his life during adult times and essentially coming across a new realization of what was important in life for him. His father's name was Woody, and he passed away of a certain type of cancer. But before he passed away, he pronounce these words or express these words to his family and friends. And so essentially I'm reading Woody's words. The final words of Woody. Final words of Woody before ringing down the curtain. Woody, who chose consciousness over the prolonged pain of therapy. He shared this wisdom with the children and friends as the fog was creeping in. Love yourself. Revel in who you are. Love each other furiously. Hate eats you faster than cancer. And don't be afraid to be sorry or to change. The first one to forgive is the winner. Music brings people together when two people touch. It's a symphony. Knowledge is ephemeral. Understanding is eternal. The beginning is innocence, the middle an adventure, the end a tantalizing mystery. Every stage of life is beautiful. Rest in peace, Woody.
Thank you very much. Very nice. All right, now we have Dorothy. Dorothy, would you like to read next?
Dorothy, unmute.
You're still on mute, but we can hear you.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. I wrote this poem a long time ago, but I pulled it out of the Rebel, and I wrote it when my boys were really young. It's called War. The only thing that matters is holding my young sons close, protecting them from childhood mishaps and some other mother's son at war. Then I have this one about March. Japanese plum in bloom. Open the blinds. March morning light floods through the bay window. Patterns in shades of green dance softly in the wind. Plum tree in full dress. Every branch laden with robust pink white blossoms that dazzle my eyes. Squirrels frolic around and about the branches, hurriedly eating blossoms. When will I learn? Nothing lasts forever, not even this moment. But for this moment, I sigh in wonder at the beauty of it all and pray I'll never forget. And pray I never forget such a sight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice. I see that Ambika raised her hand, so let's hear from Ambika Talvar.
So I just opened a folder and pulled out without looking from 2015. And this is opened up 22nd April 2015. Spider and I Weave Our Dreams is the title. How vast the innocent playpen of my dreams, habits I have worn since time's relentless passage. Same old rain, drought, and tender dew, it seems, have gathered tales to revive age-old memes of creation, dissolution, nature's ineluctable dressage. How vast the rising playpen of lost dreams, wherein particles of you floated in gorgeous streams, miles of forest, sky, night's windowless baggage, same old stars, storms, dews, lost language, it seems. Somehow floated away a shadow with dancing beams when water from Crystal Mountain melted away an adage. How vast the scattered playpen of my newfound dreams, held in your palms an offering of love's extremes, so we discover the transcendent and the savage. Same old stars glinting as diamond and dew, it seems. Spiders' weaves, however far or near at playful seams, shine as weave of care and caution. Oh, do it no damage to this vast and narrow playpen of my dreams. Same old rain, storm, drought, tender dew, it seems.
Thank you. Very sweet. Very nice. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Amika. We have with us Marlene here. I don't know if Marlene would like to read anything. Marlene, you there? I'm going to ask to unmute you and see if you'd like to read.
Yes, I would like to, but I didn't know I had my hand up. I dropped everything, so excuse me while I go down and pick up a poem.
Okay. So maybe you have it already?
I have it right now.
Very good. It's ready.
The name is called The Old Blue Bar. A small frame building painted a tasteless blue sets down in a hollow, and as I stroll down Foothill Street, its roof rises to my shoulder as I pass by. Up the hill people shudder, what a dump. They hiss as they drive downhill, what an ugly bunch of trash. That's in their eye. The small frame shack was Jerry's cozy bar, where uniformed boys back home for a day had a beer on draft, served by Jerry while his girls stood by. It was only there at Jerry's where the local Irish priest could speak in old world Gaelic, and there his heart and voice and Jerry's had a chance to cry. If the up the hills people knew the stories the girls could tell of boys come home before they're shipping out, and the pool hall shut by war's black shades, my. They would see the small frame place painted as tasteless blue, as tall as a woman's shoulder where the sidewalks high. They would hear the cozy voices with a hint of tear in their eye and call it lovely. Jerry's bar and pool hall. Remember their own men leaving even now, and a lonely priest, then judge not by blue or small or set down low. And this would be in the 40s during the Second World War. True story.
Thank you.
I have to bend down to get the other one.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I really appreciate that you preserve your worldview. I really
Thank you. I do indeed, because it's the only one I really honestly see. And
It's very great.
I can't believe that when I saw the picture of the keys, the painting, I had chosen this one about don't open, and it's about a door. Above the sidewalk, 6 feet up, a door is closed and stuck tight. Its paint peeled wood, once blue. Its entrance bare with no stairway. Behind, if one could enter, maybe a room with treasure, but no one yet has been brave, and the wood is cracking. Mom said there were once bats inside and they tear out your hair. And Dad, well, he just said keep away. Those bad boys down the block spoke of dead cats and reported devil's parties in that room and gruesome dying. The lady who sleeps in the park says it's only she who knows. Her ghosts are terrible and stay inside. Don't open, don't go near. The carpenters came one day and the wrecking crew, while the boys and the ladies stood aside, waiting to see hell and all its dwellers. And they all said, don't open that door. The wreckers hacked through amid gasps and sighs. Watchers crossed themselves in terror. There were no bats, nor devils, no ghosts. Dismal dust lay thick on stained floors. The once blue door is gone now to the dump, and the walls too. The new office building stands alone with no boys to watch over it, no ghosts to keep people away. And the woman sleeps in a different park. Thank you for listening.
you.
Glad to be back.
Thank you very much, Marlene. And I'd like to read as a last reader from my book, The Rainy Bread. I just revised it, added a lot of poems, including this one, which is inspired by a true story of a mother of a director of historical museum in Warsaw, who has a huge collection of oral histories, over 10,000, recorded by people who were deported by Soviet Union from their homes in lands which are now Belarus and Ukraine, which were multicultural with lots of Polish people. 3.5 million to 4.5 million were deported from these places, and they left with very little. And now that they are in Poland and the descendants are in Poland, they accept refugees from the same lands into their homes. So I also donated to a friend who has a Ukrainian family living with him. People just open the homes and let people stay because the influx was so sudden and so catastrophic. A song for a key, for Jakob Kowski and his mother. This is the key. This is an iron key. This is a large iron key. This is an old, large iron key, a key my mother carried in her purse. This is an old, large, wrought iron key my mother carried in her purse every single day. This is a field. This is a flat field. This is a flat, empty field. This is a flat, empty field in the Ukraine that used to be Poland, a flat, empty field where my mother's house once stood, surrounded by a tall wooden fence with a tall wooden gate and a solid, large wrought iron lock. They told her, pack. They told her, go. They told her, out. You do not belong. This is our land. There is no house. There is no fence. There is no gate. This is the key.
Well,
Thank you very much.
That was a wonderful connection to Hedy's presentation.
Well, that's why I remembered about it. I planned to do
Almost
something else.
And
Yeah,
also
but-
to the present.
Yes, I wanted to read the key poem because the keys are in a lot of psychoanalysis, right? Keys are
Yeah.
keys. They open doors. Sometimes we don't want the doors open, and sometimes we have to, because
And
as
then
everything
there's
is
locking.
locked, it will never be cleared. Anyway, I wanted to read with my second poem, which I just read for our workshop for West Side women writers. So Mika will hear it again. It's about my rose from my garden. Double delight. Gentle as dawn, clearing the sky of midnight nightmares, my April rose smiles to herself, rearranging the blush and pink crinoline of petals folded into a heart, her secret within. She tells me to laugh and laugh again, overflowing with childish joy, champagne bubbling in a crystal, while the air around me is heavy with cries of panic, anguish, hate. What of the news, you say? Who lived? Who died? Who suffered? I'm silent, exploring the inner landscapes that only music knows, the infinity of cellos, violins, and the lover's gaze, locked in a key of brightness. Okay, so that was my second poem for today. And now I will thank everybody, and for the ending of the reading, I'll just show our logo. This is
Yes.
the Village Poets symbol, our logo, and this logo will be featured prominently on April 9th, when our lovely poet laureate, Alice, will receive the laurels from the previous poet laureate, Pam Shea. We have this tradition. I have to say you something that I still remember. It's one of my fondest memories of my life, because when I showed up to my ceremony in 2010, everybody was frantic because I showed up at 5 to 3. I thought it's just some kind of low-key event. It turned out to be a huge gala with so many people, musicians, politicians, diplomas, awards, speeches. I was completely floored. I was like, yay! With this green on my face. My children came, everybody was laughing. It was just amazing event. So this time we'll hear from Pam Shea, who will read her poems, and we'll hear from Alice. We'll also have a wonderful violinist that Alice is a friend of, and it's all going to be in person in a wonderful site, the Wendell Dayton Sculpture Garden, which is down the road in Sunland, in an area where there's all sorts of horse estates and artists live as well. Alice, would you like to add something to this?
Well, I just hope people come because it's kind of unique, and they'll be outdoors under a beautiful live oak tree. There'll be refreshments, thanks to Village Poets who are so generous, and Joe DeCenso and Maya and Dorothy and Marlene and all the volunteers. It's going to be really beautiful. And there's Ambika as well. And
I
she's
hope
also
whoever is
with us.
here- yeah, whoever is here in LA, please come to this
Yeah,
on
if you're in
April 9th at 1 to 4 with a great reception connecting to poets in person. Anyway, so that was our announcement. There it is.
Can I say something?
Okay, so here it is. Okay, anybody else has any comments? Yes,
I
please.
have a comment. I'm sorry for experimenting on you. I just want to make sure that I'm getting that poem right for next week.
It's all good. I mean, that's what the readings are for. And you were really experimental because you were reverse colors on the screen, which was really interesting. So it's all good. And then we saw Pat had a cat walking across the screen. After the readings, we had a cat meowing in the background. And the cat of one of our participants wanted to see that cat, so he kept coming into the screen.
I have one, but
It's
he's
pretty funny.
locked out. Mine is locked out.
I see. There you go. All right. So I think we had a really, really fun reading. And I do appreciate everybody's poetry, insights, wisdom, and sensitivity expressed in words. It was really amazing. We're looking forward to getting Hedy's key poem to add to the blog with her bio and pictures. So it will be like a forever thing. This blog is actually becoming a history of poetry because we publish bios and excerpts from poems, and we've done it for 10 years. So every month. So we have quite a few poets already in there. So that will be lovely. And now besides the April 9th, I'm also working on the next reading on Zoom, which will be at the end of April, with Raphael Bloch from Northern California, a friend of a friend from California State Poetry Society. He expressed interest. I checked him out, and I thought it'd be nice to share his poetry as well. Very ecologically inspired. So Hedy brought us the women's voices, women's art, immigrant experience, history of the world, and all these amazing Phoenician alphabets, and Lebanon, and all the colors. And I'm personally never been to Lebanon, but my mama came there before Beirut was first bombed. So to her, Beirut was the most beautiful city on this planet, like Paris of the East, with amazing colors and riches. And she was devastated watching the bombs falling on a small black and white TV screen. Remember, we're sitting there crying and mourning the loss of Lebanon. So there's lots of people crying over a lot of things these days, but we should keep smiling anyway. And thank you for the gift of poetry and insights that helps us smile and survive the hard times with joy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And we'll see you
Happy
next
Hedy.
time.